Well, good evening on a beautiful Sunday evening. Of course, Marty, here where I am, I'm not sure about you, but we had rain this morning and it sure was, we were sure were grateful to get some rain down here in our area. But about lunchtime, I guess, it cleared off and became a beautiful Sunday afternoon. And I know I look a little bit different this week because I'm trying a little bit different setup to see if we can't maybe cure some of the internet issues we've been having last couple of episodes when we've been trying to get this recorded. But so I look slender today. I don't know if I do on your end or not, Marty, but so we are bringing you once again, Step Up, Make a Difference, the podcast. And Marty, I hope you've had a good week.
Oh, yeah, it was a great week, and fall colors up here in North Georgia are beginning. It's just beautiful to see God's creation during this time, and I had a very good week. And we're bringing in a great guest from Shorter, one of my friends, Coach Wade Anderson, men's boys basketball coach here. You're going to really like this guy.
Well, good deal. And let's just go ahead and bring in Coach Anderson and get started talking here. Coach, thanks for joining us today. We're glad to have you. And I know you've gotten to know Marty a little bit over the last year or so. And we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule, because I know this time of year begins to get really hectic for you.
It does. I appreciate you guys having me on. But yeah, this is prime time for us. We started practice a little over a week and a half ago. We've got our first scrimmage upcoming this Thursday. So we're getting close to actually being able to play against some other teams. So it's been a pretty busy time, but it's an exciting time. I'm looking forward to it.
I teach most of your guys, and they're ready to play somebody besides themselves.
Well, we've been able to do a little bit up until a week and a half ago. We get 4 hours a week for actual basketball practice, and then the other 4 hours we get for weights and conditioning. So they've been practicing against each other since the end of August. So it's about time that we play against somebody else. They can take out a little of their aggression on them. But I think all of us are looking forward to it, just to kind of see how we are against somebody else.
Yeah, Coach, I'm older, and I remember when Shorter was in the NAIA, and then they transitioned over to NCAA. And correct me if I'm wrong, are y'all in the Gulf South Conference now, or
we are in Conference Carolinas?
Carolinas. Okay.
We made the shift a year ago, so we've played a full season in Conference Carolinas. I think Shorter was in the Gulf South for 10 plus years. They were there for a while, but this is our second year going into Conference Carolinas.
Okay, all right, and that means, let's see, your opponents. Who all is in in Conference Carolinas now?
So there's 16 teams total in Conference Carolinas. The schools in Georgia are Young Harris and Emmanuel University. Tennessee has King University. We just added Ferrum from Virginia, Chowan in North Carolina, Barton, Lees McRae, Mount Olive. Probably leaving somebody in North Carolina out, but then South Carolina's Converse, Southern Wesleyan, North Greenville, and a few other schools I probably am forgetting right now. But it's big conference, pretty spread out. It's different from the Gulf South. It's a lot of different travel. It's the opposite direction. So I've kind of had to relearn places that I'm visiting, and it's been interesting. It's a lot of new for me, but it's a lot of private schools with the same belief system as our school, which makes it nice, and the competition is still really good, which is great.
Good. I know from being a basketball coach, this is the time of year when you just flip the switch, sort of, and you go into coaching mode, and this is where we live, right? It starts out in the fall, and then man, you hang on until February, and everybody's worn out in February, and snow on the ground, all that stuff. So it's a grind, but it starts off really pretty, doesn't it?
It does, because I think I don't know if there's any coaches that come into a year and they're not excited about their teams, because you've spent all off season recruiting and filling spots and really just plugging holes and different things like that. And then you're excited to see how that all fits together. I think that's the fun of what we do, is you get a chance to add all these different personalities together, different competitors and different things going on in their lives. And then you hope that they can do everything you want them to do, compete, make sure that they're taking care of their academics, make sure that they're all willing to be on the same page. It's a really complex thing that we've chosen to do with our lives. So, but it's great.
That's for sure. That's an understatement. But Coach, what we normally do when we have a guest on is we try to get your story, kind of where you came from, maybe a little bit about where you grew up, and then what led you into coaching. Were you a player prior, and what led you into coaching, and how you basically got to the college level. Some people go directly into the college level. Some people start at lower levels and come up. And just kind of tell us your story about your arrival as a college coach.
Okay. Well, it's been a journey. I always tell people I appreciate a journey because it's been one that I've been through. I was born and raised in Wyoming, all the way out west. We were homeschooled. We ended up moving from Wyoming when I was in 8th grade. I was a football player for basically the first little bit of my life, and I thought that was what I was going to do. When we moved, the school that we went to didn't have football, but they had basketball. So I got into playing basketball and really loved it. And the Lord provided opportunities for me to be able to go on and play college basketball at Pensacola Christian College. As a 6'5" post player, my opportunities for playing longer weren't there, which was fine with me. But I wanted to figure out a way to still stay competitive, and basketball had done so much for me that I wanted to stick with it. And I didn't know the avenues to go to get into coaching. I didn't have my dad had been a high school football coach. I didn't know how to go about getting into it. So when I graduated from college, I went to the University of West Florida. I was going to get my master's degree there. And the head of the sports management program there introduced me to Coach Hogan, the head basketball coach there. And I got to be graduate assistant. And that was my first step into the coaching world. First year was great, taking classes, living at home, getting to know a little bit about basketball. Second year, Hurricane Ivan hit Pensacola and wiped out our gym. We ended up traveling around. I think we played and practiced in at least 10 different gyms in Pensacola that season. Wow. And I carried basketballs and practice gear and everything in my car for that whole second year. And I learned a lot about how to take care of a program and how to making sure to be on time and that washing clothes is not necessarily above me. And so that was my experience. From there, when I graduated, Coach Jack Robertson hired me at Faulkner State Community College, which is now Coastal Alabama South Community College. I went there, lived in the dorms, taught a couple classes, and that was my intro to my first assistant coaching job as a basketball coach. And it was a great experience. Coach Robertson let me recruit. He let me schedule. He let me do game scouting, and that was a real, like, one of the better experiences that I've had as a young coach. After 2 years there, Coach Hogan at West Florida hired me back as his full-time assistant. I was there with him for 2 years, and then he went to Coastal Carolina to be the associate head coach, and Bob Stennett was hired at West Florida and kept me around, which I'm always be grateful for, and learned a lot from him. Was under him for 6 years. When he retired, I got the opportunity to go to Christian Brothers in Memphis to coach under Mike Nienaber, who's an awesome person and a Princeton offense guru. And I learned a ton from him. Christian Brothers is a private school, which Shorter University is a private school. I learned how to recruit to the private school setting, being able to do things with less scholarship, less budgets, and then the Lord opened the doors for me to be able to come here to Shorter, and it's been a journey in itself. My first head coaching job here, it's had its bumps in the road, but I've learned a ton and been grateful. And Rome has been awesome to us, and Shorter has been incredible, and we're enjoying the ride, and I'm excited about this year. We have a lot of depth. We've got really good players, coaches. Like he said, he teaches probably most of my guys in class, and they're competitive guys. They're guys that they try to make me emotional all the time with some things that they say, and I think it's just because I care about them so much. But I'm excited about this year and what we can do, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's a little bit of my journey. I've been very blessed, and the Lord's really opened opportunities for me and my wife to be able to stay in this and to kind of see where he's taking us. So it's been great.
You know, the impression I get from the guys that I teach is they love their coach. They love you, and they sort of banter back and forth with me. And that's just kind of the way they are when you do something. You know, I'm an old man. Sometimes I don't hear well. Well, they just think that's funny, so funny, you know, in a respectful way. And they're just good kids, and I think a lot of that's a tribute to you to find those kind of young men and bring them in and assemble a team out of them. And I just think the world of the guys that you have. I have Big Mike, you know, all 6'9" of him on the front row. He always sits on the front row, you know.
That's good. That's
good. He's just a solid human being, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think this is probably what every coach does, but we really have taken our time to do background check and do our due diligence with these guys, and I want competitive people, but I want people who have good hearts and who are willing to be good teammates and take coaching and make sure that academics is a priority for them. Mike, who you just mentioned, he's a special one. He didn't get to play any last year. He came in beginning of the year, ended up tearing his labrum in the second scrimmage of the season before the season even started, and didn't get to play. Mike's about 6'9", probably 250. Is just a mountain of a man, and he's back. He had surgery. He's healthy for this season, and I don't really know if there's many other better human beings out there. Mike's got a big heart, but he wears a Superman necklace, and that's pretty much him. He's built out of steel, so he's a good one.
Coach, you've been around for a number of years. You're not an older gentleman by any stretch. You're not as old as me. You're definitely not as old as Marty. But since you've been in coaching and since you stepped away as a player or advanced as a player and became a part of the coaching world, what are some of the biggest changes you have seen take place in the world of collegiate athletics, and how do coaches? I know it's still an ongoing process, but how do coaches adapt to the changing world of the college landscape?
Well, I think, and as a player, I mean, that's been a while ago now. That was probably my first year of college was 1999, finished up in 2003. Maybe it was a little bit of how I was raised. My parents weren't really involved, and I had good parents. They weren't going to be ones that would go to a coach and discuss anything or talk to them. That kind of was the responsibility of me as the student athlete to make sure that kind of stuff was taken care of. I think that's changed quite a bit. I deal a lot more with parents, which is fine, and I think that's how the world has changed a little bit. But also, I think one of the biggest things nowadays is the world of NIL. At the Division II level, we really haven't had to deal with it a whole lot, but it is now starting to work its way into our level. And I think it's great for the kids that haven't had the opportunities to be able to make money, and it's good for their families. It changes the competitive balance quite a bit. And I think that's something that people have had to adapt to. I know we have had to adapt to it as well. It like with us, it takes people who just they just love it. If you're recruiting against somebody else that has the NIL stuff. So you got to get players that just, they're willing to come for the program. They're willing to come for the coach and for what we're able to provide, a good academic situation, and then a good basketball situation. So it's changed quite a bit. I don't know, honestly, for me, whether it's for the good or for the bad, but it's changed a lot. I think the way you coach has changed some. I think the focus of players has changed quite a bit. Their focus doesn't stick for very long. So drills are short, and you're getting to the next thing a lot quicker than we used to. We had some 3-hour practices when I was a player. I don't know if that's something that could actually happen nowadays, but it's quite a bit has changed. And I don't feel like I'm that old, but quite a bit has changed in the last 25 years of basketball.
I agree with you, Coach. I think a lot of the methodologies changed. I don't know that kids have changed as much. They still want somebody to be in their life to help them be better, make them a better person. They want somebody that they trust. I mean, a lot of those things are there, but the way we deal with them is certainly different. Social media. I mean, you can't recruit without social media now. It used to be you'd go in the house, you'd sit down with their mother at the table and say, "I'm going to take care of your kid," and she would drill you with questions about her son. But now it's not that. There's probably going to be a AAU coach sitting there, an uncle who thinks he's some kind of jackleg agent. All kinds of factors coming into that.
Yeah,
it's different, but I think the kids themselves still want the same thing. It's just the road they travel now it's got a lot more landmines than it used to have.
Yeah, I would agree. Social media is a big thing. I mean, we have talks about that at the beginning of the year, every year. What you post is important because everybody can see it. It doesn't matter what you posted on; it's going to be out there, and it can affect a lot of things. It can affect your team now. It can affect your future as you go forward. So it's an important thing. But yeah, there's a lot of voices to players now besides just their parents.
And Coach, talk about, is there a difference in the transfer portal and the transfer rules for, we see it all the time with football and basketball at the Division I level, at the large school level. Is there a difference in the rules for Division II with the transfer portal and things like that? And how has that affected your recruiting, or has it at your level?
So it's affected it quite a bit. So at our level, and we've seen it actually in our new conference in Conference Carolinas. I saw it in the Gulf South. The best players in all of these leagues are typically being recruited up to Division I. So if you're having a good year, I mean, the best player at Emmanuel, he went to Georgia Southern this year. One of the best players at UNC Pembroke, he's at Georgia Southern. They've got 2 Division II players playing for them. The best player at Lincoln Memorial this past season started for Auburn the other night. I mean, it's changed so much, and it's the same thing in Division II. I mean, if a lot of players are moving around to other Division II schools if they feel like that's a better opportunity for them. So it's opened up a lot of things. I mean, it's changed so much because at one time, if you transferred Division II to Division II, you had to sit out a year. Like you had to wait a year to play. And now it's basically you can transfer, you can play immediately, and it's not just limited to one school that you can transfer to. Now you can, I mean, players have played at 4 different schools. I don't know how you develop consistency with that, but it's changed a lot. Now they've put timelines on when you can transfer. Now you have a certain amount of time that you can get in the portal and test it out. And I think there's been a decent amount of players that have gone back to the schools that they say that they're transferring from. Or looking to transfer from, and end up not going. That's kind of an interesting thing. I've never had that, and so I've never dealt with that before. Do you allow that to happen as a coach? Do you say, go test it out, we'll be waiting for you, or you go test it out and we're going to be looking to fill that spot? That's a different place to be in as a coach. You're almost at junior college, filling other schools if you get to that point. So it's kind of an interesting situation.
And the relationship nature of coaching, it seems to be affected by that. Like loyalty has sort of been replaced with expedience.
Yeah.
And so what do you do as a coach? Do you the scenario you just mentioned is a great example. What would you do? Would you recruit another player because you need one, and you can't really afford to wait on a guy to make up his mind and come back? And those things, there's just a much higher degree of uncertainty now than there used to be, right? And you have to play for now, don't you? Everything is now. Because building a team for the future is just hard to do now, isn't it?
Well, I think that's why you're seeing a lot of these coaching changes in college football like so early. It's because everybody is playing for now. They don't want to get behind on the transfer portal and getting the right players and all that kind of stuff. And it's sad to see because coaches aren't being able to finish up their seasons with their guys. But I don't know. I really, that's a good question, Coach, because I anytime that I've had a player that goes in the portal, I wish them the best. And most of them have moved on to either a Division II school or an NAIA school. I've never had one that's moved up a level. So I don't know. It may be a case-to-case basis. I've always said I want players who want to be here, and I would probably continue to recruit if someone told me that they were wanting to transfer. And look for people who want to be here. and at Shorter who want to be coached by me and be part of this program. And I think that's kind of where I'm at. So I think loyalty does come into it. But I mean, now I think as a coach, you just never know year to year, but you have to go into it the same way. You still got to love on them. You still got to coach them up. You still got to treat them the same way, not knowing if they're going to be there the next year. So you kind of got to do it the same way that you've always done it, no matter whether they're staying or not.
That is a whole new dynamic. And let's change the subject a little bit here, okay? Let's talk about, I know you're a real devout Christian, Coach. It's one of the things I admire most about you. How does your faith come into play in your coaching style and your philosophy?
Well, quite a bit. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for the Lord opening the doors for me to be able to do it. And honestly, the Lord and my wife being supportive of me, but I think there's been a lot of times, and there's been some difficult times of being on my knees in prayer and just asking, like, what do I need to do next? And whether it's been transitions in coaching jobs or even here in the last several years. I mean, when I first got here, I got the job late July of 2017, and I had 7 players on the roster. So I got here. We had our 7. I moved some JV guys up to be able to get to our 10 to be able to practice. I didn't know how we were going to compete in the loaded Gulf South Conference, and there was just a lot of prayer that had to go into what do we run, how do we play when you've got maybe 5 guys who can play, and so the Lord really guided me. We beat the number 23 team in the nation that year. University of West Alabama at their place, which was great. But I think a lot of it was just praying with the guys and sharing my faith with them, and we got through a pretty difficult year. But a lot of it was just because of prayer and being able to share some of that with them. And then 2 years later, my assistant at the time got married. Moved away, COVID hit, and I wasn't allowed to hire. So I did a full year with just myself. And that was a year that took a ton of prayer. And we played a game at Montevallo that year, and my wife took a picture of the live stream, and they moved the camera over to Montevallo's bench during a timeout, and there was 8 coaches all circled around away from the timeout huddle, and they zoomed back over to me, and I was standing by myself away from the huddle, and it was in I think the score was like 87-87 with like a minute left, and I mean, it was honestly just taking a breath and saying a prayer, and we ended up hitting a game-winning shot in that game. And of course, she went nuts, and we prayed with the guys afterwards. But I couldn't have made it through those times without my faith and without the Lord just being there with me. I mean, it's been a journey of faith, but I think, like in those situations, He's helped me to grow as a person, as a coach. I don't know if I was put in those situations, honestly, to be able to manage a game a little bit better. I don't know why those situations happen, but it's helped me to grow. And it's definitely increased my faith quite a bit. But that's one of the biggest things about being at a school where you can be very honest about your faith, is that we get to share with our guys every day, scripture. We get to pray with them. Like I said, I get emotional with them quite a bit, and I think it's a no matter where you're at, a great mission field for us to be able to share. And that's kind of been the enjoyment of it, is I get to deal with all these different kids from so many different homes and different areas. And I get to share my faith with them on a daily basis. And it's my little mission field here at home. So I enjoy being able to share it, and just the journey and where he's taken me and kind of led me through it is something that I get to share with them.
I just think that's the whole point to me is I think that coaching is the best podium, the best platform to preach kids, to pour into their lives, to be a spiritual influence on them and tell them about Jesus. I think it's the best platform that exists in the world today.
Yeah.
And I think that you said your small ministry. I don't think it's small at all. I think you got 12, 15 guys, and think about it, that's kind of what Jesus had. I mean, he had 12 guys. One of them was, by the way, a dud. He should have taken the NIL portal and gotten out. The transfer portal, I mean, but and they changed the world, and you can do the same thing. I think we can do the same thing. That's what coaching's all about to me. Yeah. Is being that influence and multiplying what your influence is by sending those guys out in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, because I think, like, for me, I've had good coaches. I've had coaches that, I wouldn't say bad coaches, but I would have coaches that just it wasn't something that they truly loved. And you can tell the ones that really love it, and they love, like, being able to pour into you as a person. You're not just the number and the jersey out there. You're actually the person. Like, it excites me to be able to see the guys that have graduated, to be able to go on and do something successful with their lives. And you just kind of hope that the stuff that you've taught them and that we've worked on, about being on time, about how to work together with people. It's not always the easiest thing for people to be able to be on the same page and work with different personalities. And then, honestly, just being respectful to people. That's kind of one of the big things. And then one of the things that we really teach is composure. It's just maintaining your composure, because in games, a lot of things can happen, and a lot of times, I mean, probably half the time it's negative. And can you keep your composure and be able to get to the next thing without dwelling on the last thing and letting somebody else control you? And so we work a lot on it. I mean, it's an everyday thing for some people, and I don't let it slip, because it's something as they get out into the world as grown up adults, that those are going to be things that are important in their lives, as being good employees and being good bosses and husbands and fathers. And that's the stuff that, like, at the end of the day, is the most important thing. Like, we all want to win, and we all want to be successful, and we all want to have the best players, but are they being good people when they leave? That's the most important thing. And those are the kind of things you don't get to see for a few years. But when you get the one guy that comes back that thanks you for everything you've done, it makes everything better. It's pretty wild how that is, but it is a calling for sure, because it's something special.
Yeah, I want to bring up something, a little interesting tidbit. When you were just talking, you brought up 2 schools and 2 towns, and here's the funny thing.
Okay.
I graduated high school in Montevallo, Alabama.
Okay.
So you mentioned Montevallo, and I am an alum of West Alabama.
Okay.
So if you won a game in that gym, you did something, because that's one of the hardest gyms to win in the Gulf South Conference, and it hadn't changed much. they haven't broken ground and built themselves an arena yet. You're still playing in Pruitt Hall, and so winning a game there was a big accomplishment because that's a tough environment to play in. And but that's interesting that you brought up those two schools, and here I sit on this podcast with you and got connections to both of them. But I think it's fantastic that what you were doing in using coaching as a ministry. I think coaching is a calling, and for those of us who are believers, that calling is just as strong as it is for somebody who goes into the ministry. Don't you agree, Marty? I think it is a ministry. It is. It's the same type of calling as it is really to be a minister, because my dad was a minister, and I grew up in a church family, and watching him be a pastor my entire life, and then everybody still asks me from time to time, how come you didn't become a pastor? And I just tell them, I said, well, my calling was a little bit different. When I came out of college, I went into coaching, and that was my ministry. And over the years, I've adapted that to wherever I've been and whatever I've done. And but you take that attitude that every day you walk out the door, you're on a mission field. You are called to live your life in front of people every single day that you go out in a certain way. And to see coaches who are willing to put that out in the front and say, I'm a man of faith. This is how we're going to run my program. This is how we're going to run our program. This is what we're going to do. You don't have to proselytize. All you have to do is live in front of them and give them the expectations that you want in your program. And I think that is that's a wonderful thing to see that. And I think there's been more and more coaches over the last, I would say probably 10 years, that their faith has come more to the forefront. And it's been great to see. I love to hear coaches interviewed, and they talk about their faith openly in an interview. I think that's fantastic. And but going back to the athletes, and Marty's done. You know a little bit probably about what Marty's done, and as far as his research and talking to kids and polling kids all over the country for a number of years. And what do you see when you go to recruit a player? What do you see is what are the things that you think those kids are looking for in the coaches that come and see them and talk about coming to play in their programs? What do you see? What do you think those guys are looking for? What are some of the keys that they hit on when you are talking to a recruit?
Well, I think honestly, the first thing that they want is to find a successful program. I think that's probably what most people look at first. It's why we have websites where you can check out like records and all that kind of stuff. And then I think they want to see how, like, what your relationship can be with them. I mean, I think, like, for me as a player, and I don't know how much it's changed, like Coach said earlier, the people who I always wanted to impress the most were my dad and my coach. And I don't know if that's changed. I mean, I really don't. So I think they want to see how you are as a coach, how you talk to them and how you listen to them. And I think that's a big thing as you build that relationship in the recruiting process. And then I think as you get far enough along, they want to see who you've recruited. And I think a lot of that is the kid and the parents. They want to see the type of players that you've brought into the program and see, well, is this something that I would want to be part of? But I mean, the things that we can share with them are, like, academics is huge, and Coach can kind of speak to that. Like, we want our guys in class, and I've told them, you sit on the front row. So Mike is doing the right thing, Coach, by sitting on the front row, whether he blocks everybody or not. he needs to be sitting on the front row. And that's one of the very first things that we tell them is you're going to come in, you're going to get a good education. And I think that's a big thing, and that's obviously applies to the school, but I do think the relationship is probably the biggest thing. And then when you get down to it, like what gear are we going to get, and where are we going to travel to, and how are we going to get there, and all that kind of stuff goes into it. But I do think, and we spent a lot of time on building the relationships with recruits before they actually make the commitment. So, but I'm very honest with people. I'm honest about what we're able to do, and that we're kind of working with less, and what we're able to give as scholarships. I don't really sugarcoat anything. I'm very honest, and I think that's helped me out because I don't have to deal with upset people on the back end. But I think that's the best way to be. But I do think the relationship is probably the biggest thing when I go to talk to kids on what they are looking to see.
I agree with that. I think they want a coach they trust to make them a better player, better man, coach they like, who's gonna they can follow, sort of like a father figure, maybe, in a way.
Yeah, I think a lot of them they want to know that they're going to get better, and we spend a lot of time on fundamental stuff, so we don't. We kind of maybe a little bit behind on some of the things that we're doing offensively, like with plays and different stuff like that. But I want them to really understand like what it means to play basketball. You're not just, a lot of people want to just go hoop nowadays, and hooping is something that you can do at the rec or the Y. But I want them to have an understanding about how people are guarding you and what you can take advantage of if somebody guards you this way, and what you can do if they guard you another way. And that's a lost thing. It makes minds explode sometimes when you get into the weeds with that stuff. But that if you can get it and you can understand it, it becomes a very fun game when you're not just drawing up one play for one option. And you can draw up a play with 10 different options that you just call one play on. And so the understanding of the game, becoming a better basketball player, and then obviously the relationship is a big thing.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. Marty, I had something, and it, at my age, sometimes it leaves me. And I had something I was going to ask, and then all of a sudden it just went away. So
I know what it was. You were going to ask him what's his favorite verse, because that's the last thing you always do.
That is one question there, and there's also that other last question that I always ask, and I do know what that one is, and we are getting close to time here. To start wrapping things up. But do you have a verse, Coach, that you go to, that's your go-to, or a couple of them that are special to you?
Yeah, I've got a couple verses. I mean, obviously, I enjoy sharing like the salvation story. So just like, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. I think that's probably one of the biggest ones. And then approved workmen need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth, I think is one of the big ones. It's one of our old Awana verses that we had to memorize coming up. But I like to share scripture with our guys. We haven't gotten to the point where we're memorizing it yet, but I just, those are scriptures that I come back to that I'm grateful for, that we have it. But it's just a reminder to me, on what we believe in and what we stand for, and honestly, why I'm here.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess the question that we ask all of our guests, since I'd say, what do you say, Marty? 95% of the people that we have on here are coaches, or some kind of coach, or have been a coach. But you've been in the collegiate level for a while now, and I know you have had young assistant coaches, and you have had graduate assistant coaches, and you probably had volunteer assistant coaches down through there. But say when one of those guys comes to you, or maybe you have a player, and a player is about to finish up his eligibility in his playing career, and all of a sudden he decides, I think I could be a coach, and so comes and talks to you. Just a couple of things a couple of pieces of advice you would give a young man or a young woman, for that matter, who is thinking about entering the coaching profession. A couple of things that you would tell them as far as some advice in getting started, and how to get their career off to the right kind of start, and some things to go by as they get started.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And I have an awesome assistant coach and just an incredible grad assistant. And both of them are about 25 years old. And I think they tend to keep me young. Whenever I'm around them, they're all into the social media, and I'm thankful for the stuff that they do. But I've talked with both, and Austin, my assistant coach, was my grad assistant 2 years ago. So when my previous assistant, Coach Leidick, got out of coaching, Austin had just finished up his master's, and I was able to hire him. And every grad assistant that I've talked to, everybody, I'm always say, don't rush this process of coaching, because I think a lot of young coaches now, or a lot of young people, they're so eager to get to be a head coach. And I think that's kind of the goal that most people want to get to. And there's some coaches that don't, that's just not for them. But I think everybody wants to get to be a head coach. And I always tell them, like enjoy this journey. And for guys that are just getting done playing, if they're wanting to get into college coaching, even if they're wanting to get into high school coaching, I always recommend trying to find a grad assistant program somewhere. I just think that is such a good experience. You get to kind of see the inner workings of an athletic program, a basketball program. My grad assistants, they do travel. They work on meals for trips. They help me plan practices. They do scouting reports. They do classroom checks. They do my grad assistants run our developmental JV program. So it's great experience to get your coaching style kind of set. You get to kind of see what the inner workings are. It was amazing for me to be able to kind of learn how to deal with athletes and develop those relationships with basketball players outside of being a player. Because there is a fine line, because you're not a player anymore. So you're not hanging out with them afterwards. You're being an adult, but you still have to have that good relationship with them. And then my experience was going to the junior college level as an assistant coach, and that was great for me. But I think getting the masters and then networking as much as possible. Whenever you get the chance, just meeting people, talking to them. Other teams come into town. I always took the opportunity to get to know head coaches, and that, like we talked about Montevallo, Danny Young and we became very good friends. The head coach at Alabama Huntsville, Coach Acuff, like he was somebody that I could call, but I took my time as an assistant coach and as a graduate assistant to get to know those head coaches, and network and learn from them, and they got to know me. And so those were probably some of the big things for me. And then that was how I got the opportunity at Christian Brothers, because Coach Nienaber and I'd gotten to know him. So I think getting that experience, getting to know people within the field, open up so many more opportunities for you. And then honestly, at the end of the day, if the Lord wants you to be somewhere, he's going to work it out for you to be somewhere. Yeah. And I think a lot of prayer goes into it, because if it's something that you feel like you're called to, like I've had a lot of doors open for me that may or may not should have been. but it's because of the Lord. And you know it because those were opened and it was very clear to go through them. So I think, like, if you feel like you're being called, the Lord's really put it on your heart that you pursue it. And I mean, it takes a lot of time. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, especially if you're trying to get into it and network. But I think it's worth it. I mean, the way that you can affect so many different lives. I mean, I think it's a fun thing because we get to cold call people basically when we get on the recruiting trail. We call people that we don't even know, and then we start building relationships with them, and those relationships can last for years and years. It's kind of a pretty wild thing that we've chosen to do, but I think if you want to do it as a young player and as a young coach, be willing to go into it fully, because it does take time, and there's going to be some discouraging times, but the great fun times, they definitely are better than the discouraging ones. But I've loved it. I mean, I think it's taught me so much, and it's taken me to a lot of fun places. I mean, I went to Russia one summer to run basketball camps. I mean, that's what basketball has been able to do in my life. So it's been a pretty cool thing. So I hope to do it for a long time, and I'm really blessed.
We hope you do it for a long time too, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has been an honor to have you in here with us tonight. We learned a lot about you and your style, and I tell you, you're a cool guy. You and I eat lunch together every chance we get down at the end table down there.
We do.
And I love your philosophy and the way you operate. So I admire that, Coach, and we feel privileged to have you on our program. Maybe we'll have you back sometime at the end of the season, and you can tell us a little bit about what happened in the season rather than what's going to happen. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I really appreciate y'all having me on. Coach, I've appreciated your friendship, and I'm an appreciator of basketball in general. I love just talking basketball. So being able to have you around has been great. But being able to just talk today has been awesome. So I appreciate y'all making some time for me to be on here. And yeah, I would love it. You come back at the end of the year and maybe we can talk about how great of a year it's been and everything. But this has been fun. I've really enjoyed it.
We can arrange that.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely can. We definitely can. And I want to bring up one key thing, and you've said this word a number of times during this podcast tonight, but relationships. Relationships are the key word, and I don't think it matters. I've spent a lot of time in the non-coaching side of athletics. I was a director of sports communications or sports information, whatever you want to call it, for a long time, and been around the college level with that, and love that aspect of it. But I've been in sales. I'm in a kind of a marketing job now. I've been back and forth into and out of teaching and coaching. Everything I have ever done in my life, the key element to all of that has been relationships, especially in coaching. Not only relationships with your players, but relationships with parents. You mentioned that. Relationships with your administration. Relationships with other coaches, relationships with officials, which are strained sometimes, that. But when you have relationships, and when you have put an importance on building relationships, that is where the rubber meets the road. And I think that's a key component, especially in being a coach, and building those relationships and maintaining those relationships, and having people who know where you stand, what you stand for, and what is important to you is important in any relationship as well. Because once they learn that and they learn to respect that, and they know what to expect from you, and you know what to expect from them, it makes that relationship better. But Coach, we really do appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We talked about it at the beginning. This is a busy time of year for you, and it's almost that time when the bright lights come on and you get to play somebody in a different color uniform. I'm sure you probably got an exhibition or two coming up that you're going to get to play against somebody else, and then all of a sudden, it's going to tip off and it's going to be on go 2 or 3 times a week from then until probably March. And hopefully you guys will have a tremendous year and a successful year. But we do appreciate you being with us.
Thank you so much.
And Marty, have a great week, my friend. Coach, you have a great week. I don't know what your weather is going to be like up there in North Georgia, but I think we're supposed to have pretty good weather around here, and we got our little rain this morning for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, and I don't think it's supposed to rain again until next weekend. So we're going through that fall cycle of wet, dry, but it seems like the dry periods are a little longer right now. But anyway, folks, everybody watching, again, Coach Wade Anderson, we appreciate him being with us, but as we always say, when we close out an episode of Step Up, Make a Difference, the podcast, watch for doors to open. Watch for opportunities to spring up in front of you. And when you get those opportunities, be willing and be a vessel and take that step to step up and make a difference in somebody's life or in a group of people's life. Just be willing and able, and God will take it and do the rest. And we hope everybody has a fantastic week, and we will see you again next Sunday. Remember to tell all of your friends about this podcast. We are found on YouTube at Georgia Alabama Sports Live. If you go to Georgia Alabama Sports Live, you can find the Step Up podcast, and you can share those links with everybody. All of our episodes are archived on that platform. We are also on social media, Facebook and Instagram. You can find us there. You can send us guest suggestions. You can send us questions. You can talk about how old and ugly we are if you want to, all of that kind of thing. But you can give us critiques on our podcast, and we'll happily accept them. Or if we don't like them, we'll just delete them. How about that? No, just kidding. But dude, please share it around and get more and more people watching this, and more people learning what we're all about and what we're saying here in Stepping Up and Make a Difference. Marty, have a great week. Coach, have a great week. Good luck to you on this season. All the best to you as you go into it. And we are looking forward to see how your team fares this year. But that's going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week on Step Up, Make a Difference, the podcast.